What's up, what's up, what's up? It's Mike Frank back with Christian Olson.
Hello.
Here to talk about wants versus needs. What's going on, Christian?
Not much. How you doing, Mike?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Got a fucking muggy ass day. I couldn't put the top down this morning.
You hate to see it.
It was annoying.
Problems.
I'm yearning for better weather, right? Now that I drive a convertible, I'm like, oh my God, I need a better weather.
Subtle flex.
Subtle flex. I knew that was coming. I knew it. As soon as I said it, I was like, fuck. Anyway, all right. Hey, so home buyer happy hour, 2 weeks, not next Thursday, the Thursday after. So 2 weeks. So 3 Thursdays from now.
Yeah.
Right. Bar Cocina, 6:30 p.m. See you guys there. If you haven't already, sign up online. Liv, can we send out the Eventbrite link as well?
Always do. Always
do. Anyway, so Christian, wants versus need. Pick a side. I'm going to defend the other side.
I'm going to go with needs.
Why?
I don't know. You said pick a side. I listened, all right?
All right. Well, I'm going to pick wants, I guess.
You have to at this point.
Yeah, right. But I think there's a subtle line, so I'm going to challenge you a little bit. When you're shopping for a home with a buyer, right? Like take Ron Price.
Okay.
Sad day for Ron. I'm sorry, Ron.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk to him later today, so I'm kind of excited to have that conversation. Anyway, so when you're working with a buyer, how do you break down wants versus needs?
I think it comes back to the buyer consultation that we have with our clients. What are they really looking for at home? And then like not just asking bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that can also relate towards what are their out-of-pocket expense. Like, do they need to spend the money that they have in their head, or that situation that you're telling me the other day? Hey, I think it's what's her name? Abby Cronin. Her sister wants to buy a house, and they were like, oh, yeah, we want to spend like $400 or $500. Do you need to spend that money, or can you buy a home at $300, $350, renovate it, and get it to that price point and still save some money? Well,
that's the whole thing, right? Because you picked wants, I think.
No, I picked needs.
You picked needs. Okay. So I picked wants, apparently. So the whole thing becomes like, what do I want? What do I need?
Right.
So my very first college class, I did take a college class, and I paid attention. My professor, his name was Scott Vratarich. He says a want is a need that's just been unrealized. And his perception was that anybody that comes into your place of business needs whatever you have to sell, and they're there because they want it. You just have to convince them why they need it. And I kind of feel like in real estate, it's kind of the same way, right? So buyers come to us and they say, oh, well, I need XYZ, and I need XYZ, and then I need XYZ. And then you show them that house, and they're like, no. And you're like, why? And they're like, well, it doesn't have a roof deck. Or doesn't have a garage, right? So then you have to like convince them that like this thing that they really want is actually a requirement.
Yeah.
It's funny because as we're sitting here, I remember a conversation that we had this weekend talking about our clients and like helping them understand the value and why driving to the same house 17 times over at 15 different addresses isn't going to result in them buying it.
Yeah.
Because they have a want that's not yet on their needs list.
Yeah. I think I'm getting somewhere with that. I had a conversation with her last night, and then also this morning. She's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, well, she texted me last night, and then I texted her back, and then she didn't answer me, so I figured she must have.
What time did she text you? Like 2 a.m.?
It was like 11:45. It wasn't that late.
So when we first got this, sent over to me in the email, the first thing it reminded me of...
Wait a second. Back up. Document it. Christian read the email.
Christian read an email?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right.
So I was looking through this on my way up here, and it took me back to one of my marketing classes. It was like consumer behavior, and we created a chart for what people want, what people need, and then how do we rank our needs. Let's just bring it to our buyer consultation.
You should literally tell that story.
I don't know what it was called. Liv, you were marketing, so do you remember what that chart was called?
What chart?
It was just like one that you had to rank things and give them a specific value, and it would determine, I guess, what it means to you. But like it would break it down very deeply.
Liv's like, yes, Dr. Sham, I remember this class. I paid attention very deeply. Cut and cut. All right. The point is, I think, if you tell that story and you share people their, organizational chart and you identify top 5 things, right, on our buyer consultation form, if anybody pays attention, there is 5 things you can't live without. And when you actually have to like sit there and label them, it's kind of confusing and it's kind of difficult because what are 5 things that I can't live without? And people say, well, 3 bedrooms. And I go, yeah, but you already told me that. And they're like, oh man. And then they say like air conditioning. And you're like, all right, cool. That's good to know. Next thing. And they're like, I really want some outdoor space. And you're like, well, you mentioned that earlier. So like, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And let's go deeper and let's figure out why outdoor space is important to you. So like, if you take the Travises of the world and you put them and you say, hey, why is outdoor space important to you? All of a sudden you present this beautiful townhome with the biggest yard I've ever seen.
Huge.
And then dude ends up making an offer that was more than he had ever made before.
Yeah.
Because he understands the value. And then, of course, that's the deal that he won. And now they moved in. Did you see that picture of them this weekend?
They upload a lot of pictures.
Oh, bro. They have a new puppy.
Yeah.
Bro.
Dude, I was hanging out at the property on the final walkthrough for like an extra 30, 45 minutes just hanging with the dog. It's adorable. I kind of want one.
I mean, who wouldn't? Now, of course, I can't find a picture. But, he's this little thing. Gosh, look at that tiny little thing.
Adorable.
Schmeckle.
In person, it's like a little baby like bear.
It's a little baby bear. But the point is, if we go back to our point, wants versus needs, he wanted to have a nice backyard. But when you go down and you dig in and you say, hey, what are 5 things you can't live without? And they go, oh, air conditioning. Oh, my man cave. Oh, an outdoor space. And tell me more about that. Help me understand about that. Then there's prominence behind, hey, I wouldn't choose to go see this backyard because it's not big enough for me.
Right. And I think that's probably where I might run into some issues with some of the people I'm dealing with right now, right? Like, I don't know why they want what they want or why they need what they need, especially with maybe Elizabeth or even Ron, but, that's off the table now.
I mean, it's not, but it will be back in the world.
It'll come back, but currently, but like having more background on why they want all these things or why they need all these things is just going to, I think, better prepare the agent for what's to come. That way, when they see something, the agent can also give some input like, hey, I remember we had this conversation. You're really wanting whatever this item is. And then I don't think this home is going to be a good fit. Blah, blah, blah,
because
blah.
It doesn't have X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And then we can present other properties.
So as you're bringing value to your consumer, right, you're going to sit down, you're going to talk to them about, hey, this is your wants versus your need. This is why this is important to you, and share with me more and help me understand that, so that when they show you a property that doesn't have those things, you obviously say, no, we're not going to go see that.
Right.
But what about taking that knowledge? You mentioned Sarah, Abby's sister. Shout out to Abby for sending us that lead. But you take that knowledge and you say, hey, don't spend that much money. Spend less money and help me accomplish your wants, right? Help me help you get where you want to go in the long run. And it also comes down to like financing. Yeah. Like if you say to me, oh, I want a 2-car garage. Like, for example, I want a garage, but I don't want a 1-car garage. I would sacrifice some things and maybe possibly have a 2-car garage, but I want a 3-car garage. That's why I'm not buying a house today, because I can't afford it. But perhaps I decide that affordability becomes the prominence, and buying a house today is important, and maybe I can't afford a 3-car garage. So there's this like delicate balance between, hey, I must have a garage, and you're like, well, how much do you have to spend? And they're like $200,000. And you're like, okay, well, in this location, you're not going to get a garage.
Right.
If you want to move to that location, oh no, well then you're not going to get a garage.
And I think that can just add up to be a much more stressful process of home buying for the client.
Backing up 4 days, Christian's yelling at me because of this stressful process that he's now mentioning.
I don't think I was yelling at you, but
I'm
was
sure you were yelling.
No, you were
Somebody put soap suds in your coffee.
That was months ago.
That was months ago. Still really funny. Liv's like laughing at it right now. It's like 5 months ago. It's like, that was really funny. But the point is that it's stressful.
Yeah.
It is very stressful.
And then it'll come down to like having to revisit what we really want and need based off of what we can realistically afford. Right.
And building that value, sitting down with your mortgage lender and saying, hey, I can afford $400,000, but I really want to stay in the $300,000 price range. Sharing that information with your agent and saying, hey, I really don't want to go to $400,000, but I really do want a 2-car garage. Your agent then turns around and says, well, what's the neighborhoods that you want to buy in? And you say, I really want to be in these neighborhoods and I don't want to be in those neighborhoods. And then you push and you pull and you push and you pull. You get a little bit of information to give you as the buyer the best decision to buy into the best community for the best price at the best type of home.
Yeah.
Right? There's no such thing as a needle in a haystack in this industry.
Right.
There's 17,000 needles in the haystack, and you just have to pick one.
Right.
Right? Maybe the needles are the haystack. That's, learning things 35 years in, 36 years in. Maybe that's the whole point.
It's constant learning.
Now I'm like flipping the whole script in my head. But yeah, I mean, I think to myself about the buyers. I made a note about suggesting renovations, right? The buyers that I've worked with that have said to me, oh, I have to have granite countertops. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, why don't we buy this house with a 2-car garage and then put in the granite countertops? Like helping the buyer see their wants versus their needs. They don't need the granite countertop today.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Different perspective.
And then there's always, I feel like, side note, but kind of relatable. People will like tour these homes and expect, perfectly built, everything they want and need right there in the first home that they see, right? And some people even critique it all the way down to the paint. It's like, is that even a big deal? Just go buy a bucket of paint wherever the hell the closest paint store is. Paint the house. There you go.
You guys want me to turn the volume up so you can hear Christian yell at you? Because this is what it sounds like.
Am I really yelling, though? It's not even that loud.
Not right now. Right now, you're like, But usually, you're like...
I don't think that's the case.
Usually that's true.
Maybe it was just my car microphone.
Yeah. I think you make the statement, and I think setting the expectation is what's important. If you set the expectation with your buyer that we're going to paint every single house, buyers are like, oh, I'm going to have to paint. And I'm like, all right, fine, don't buy this house. So then they buy the fully renovated house, and what do? Well, they paint their kid's bedroom. Oh, he wanted it purple.
Right.
And they paint the, accent wall in the living room. Right. And then they paint the kitchen because, well, the cabinets look better with them painted. Then why did you buy the house just painted? Like, I don't understand. Right? Like, spend the time to educate the consumer up front so that they understand what they're buying. And the thing is, in the end of the day, no matter what anybody says, I don't care. Price, condition, location.
Yeah.
We're not moving the house. So are you willing to pay more for the same house in a better community? Are you willing to pay less for the same house in a worse community? Or maybe more for a better house in a better community? Or maybe a reasonable price for a better house in a worse community? Price, condition, location. Like nothing else changes, Elizabeth. Cough, cough, cough. And I love you. Don't think that I don't. I'm just saying.
Throwing some people under the bus.
I'm out.
Is that the end?
No, it's not the end.
Well, you muted your mic and you're like...
Yeah, mic dropped. Get it?
It's not the same.
Yikes. Anyway, so to me, wants versus needs, very important. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. Identify the things that you need to have in your home purchase. I would not buy a house without a garage. Or I would buy a house with a garage space that I could build one. That was where our conversation started with Abby's sister. But that's a need.
Yeah. What I'm picking up from here, being an agent, is just ask as many questions as you can.
Perhaps maybe use the forms that we create to walk you through the buyer consultation. Ask questions and then ask them again. What are 5 things that are important to you? And then you think you're an idiot and you ask it again. And then
that's the thing. Ask it again. Ask it again. Ask it again. Same thing comes back to like the closing costs. Like when you originally meet with buyers, they're like, hey, I'll put this amount towards closing costs. And then later on, when you ask them about writing an offer, they tell you something else.
Well, that's a want versus a need, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't ask the question, you don't know. So, hey, how much are you prepared to pay towards closing costs, down payment and closing cost assistance? And they say, I'm looking to spend $9,000. You say, okay, well, that's great. I'm really curious to find out, what you're comfortable spending, not what you have. So is that a number that you're comfortable with? And they say, well, we actually only have, $10,000 or whatever we can to put towards this process. So we really want to spend as little as possible. So 9 was why, and then you go, okay, cool. I know that we have 10, but I want to be at 7.
Right.
Versus the other way around, they say 9,000 and you go, is that, everything that you have, or is that just what's making you comfortable? And they say, well, we have 45. We just really don't want to spend more than a third of that. And you're like, well, why did you tell me 9? Because a third of 45 is 15, unless my math is wrong. Let me pull out my phone. Right? Like, and then they start to share with you, and you share more and you learn more and you go farther and you understand more and you can provide your clients a better experience. That's my personal opinion. You could take it or leave it, but
it's a great opinion.
Hey, look, 2 people's opinions.
I like it.
We agree. We should disagree more often. I feel like that would be more fun. Get Courtney on here. Let's go, Court. Let's disagree a couple times. Anyway, so to me, the premise of wants versus needs is sitting down and talking about it. And then reminding people about it. Remind your spouse, your significant other, your parents, your kids. Like, remind people. I've watched a buyer tell his mom, well, this ain't about you.
Isn't that recent?
No. This was Donovan. Shout out to you. This was years ago. I'll tell you the whole story. All right. So, those of you that don't know him, doesn't matter. Dude's name is Donovan, buying a house, cool. Donovan shows up in the office. He's wearing this like neon green backpack, like neon green, like that color, almost yellow, right? Okay. And he's like, cool dude. Hey man, thanks for coming in. Talk to me about what you're looking for. You know, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this. I was cool. Ask all the questions. What's important to you? Blah, 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 blah. How much you trying to spend? Okay, great. $130,000 was his budget. Whatever, do your thing, bro. So $130,000, we're going around looking at houses, and I would meet clients back then. This is before COVID, and I would, we'd caravan together, drive together, or ride back. So Donovan and I had looked at a couple houses. Then we go out again on Saturday, and he brings his mom. And his mom, rolls up in her car, whatever. She gets out, and she's got a Louis Vuitton bag. And I was like, oh, bet. This is cool. Whatever. I don't care. And mom is just like walking into these houses, like not touching anything. Like, she wouldn't even open the door. She would kick it open. I'd be like, what's up? And she's like, oh, Donovan, you can't live here. And I was like, what? She's like, no, this is not good enough for you. You can't live here. And he would say, Ma, it's not about you. Next house. She'd be like, Donovan, you can't live here. This isn't, you can't live in this neighborhood. Ma, not about you. Okay, cool. So I asked Mom, where do you live? Oh, I rent over here, blah, blah, blah. Very nice lady. She got a lot of reasons for renting, and I'm all about it. Super supportive. Well, Donovan turns around, he's like, Ma, it's not about you. And he decides he wants to make an offer. And his mom goes, oh, I don't know if you want to live in this neighborhood. Dude lived there for 4 or 5 years. We sold his house last year, and he moved into another beautiful home. He netted a profit on the sale of his home, like 12 grand. It was a pain in the butt to get his home sold, but he knew that going into it because of the community that he bought into, the neighborhood, the buyers that are in the area. And he knew what he was walking into. It wasn't anything good. It wasn't anything bad, but it was the right thing for him to build equity. And so for him, the want was to build into his own future, to create something, to set himself up for success. So his family, his future, his whatever. And what did that do? Well, he met a beautiful lady. They have a kid. She has another kid. He's setting her up for success. Now she's going to college. Donovan's never even been to college. Like, he knew that this was the first step to building a better future. And that was his want. We made it a need. That's my opinion.
Beautiful story.
Hey, beautiful story. He's a beautiful
You know
dude.
what the need is? The world needs more people like Donovan. Preach that.
I'm just saying, I'm going to reach out to him today and tell him you said that. Like, bro, pay attention, podcast episode 47, whatever number we're on. And, this dude is so impactful in my life. It's crazy. And just a genuinely great fucking dude. And his mom is awesome, and I still talk to her. But it doesn't mean that buying a house is wrong. Just means that it wasn't right for her. But for him, what he's doing in his future, I mean, he got a raise in the time that he was under contract. He got a new job. He went back to his old job. He makes more money now. I mean, dude is like a model citizen. And he's impactful in the community. He's impactful in politics. Like, I love this dude.
Sounds like
but it started for, I want to buy a house.
Yeah.
I forgot this piece of the puzzle. We would always caravan because Donovan says, oh, by the way, I need my house to be on a bus route. And I said, well, you're going to have to help me out with that because I'm not, that's not my thing and I don't really understand. But like, how did you get to our office? Because like, there's no buses that come around here. And he said, I took the number 8 to the number 27 and then I walked. And I was like, from where? From Northern Parkway. Dude, walked down Charles Street, came over Winders. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And that's commitment.
Yeah.
And dude doesn't even drive. And the house that he bought for $120,000, whatever it was, had a garage. Like, it was the funniest thing. I mean, he just set his sights on what he wanted. What he wanted, he accomplished. He kept moving forward, kept moving forward, kept moving forward. Dude's awesome. I love that dude. Love that dude. Anyway, wants versus needs, bro. You got to prioritize it. And I think the key is, if Kevin is paying attention, you have to ask more questions, right? Like, ask more questions, Absolutely. Act more quickly, move on, and ask more questions. Right, exactly.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Circle, 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 prospect. Anyway, you have anything else to miss? We didn't get any messages from you today.
You just guys did good.
Hey.
I mean, I had other things.
We made it.
We did it.
Liv is modestly stressed out because our system broke down, but it got working, and obviously it's working well, so kudos to you. But we're going to see you guys real soon. If you're not already registered, make sure you register for our Eventbrite link for August 18th, Homebuyer Happy Hour, Bar Cocina in Fells Point, downtown Baltimore. And we look forward to seeing you guys then.
See you there.
See you there, guys.